So today we're going to make some dog training treats, and the way I do this is I blend up about 3.5 cups of some quality deer kibble, and then after the kibble's blended up into a powder form, I'll separate it and then put the deer liver into the blender and puree it into like a liquid form. It's kind of a thicker liquid. So then that will all go into the bowl, powder dog food and the deer liver, and 1 egg, and a little bit of seasoning, not much, and then I'll spray the cookie sheet here and smear the more like a batter out on over it, and I will put that on about 220 for about 4 hours, and you have to keep an eye on it. About 3/4 of the way through, you're going to want to take it out and slice it into squares and make them about 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch or inch by inch squares, and you can cut it up smaller later, but it's best to cut it when it's still a little moist. So we'll get to that in a minute, but I'm going to blend this up and then blend the deer liver and kind of show you what I do there. So at this point, the dog food is pretty much blended up into a pretty, it's not fine powder, but it's definitely not kibble anymore. So that will be pour into the mixing bowl. Might need a spoon to get it out. It's a little bit moist, but that's roughly 3.5 cups. The next process here we got going is the deer liver. So you want to cube it up into smaller pieces, and that goes in the blender too, so it blends up pretty well. You got to remove some of the gristle or anything like that. You don't want none of that in the mix. So this deer liver is pretty clean, and we're going to get to that, and I will come back after it's blended and show you what it looks like. So there's what we got for the deer liver. Looks yummy, huh? So if you can see this, it's I've had to mix a little water in with it, but it's looks good. Anyway, it's in a liquid form, and then that gets poured into the bowl of the dry mix with the dog food. So I'm going to pour this into a separate container for now and finish blending the rest of the deer liver up. You almost can't overload the blender. It's a little thick and it's pretty rough on the blender. This is a thrift store blender, so I'm not too worried about it. Anyway, you wouldn't want to do this with your good blender. I would recommend going to a thrift store, Goodwill, something like that, picking up an older blender just to have around for making this. And you can make this stuff without any, you don't really need the deer liver. It can be made with canned salmon, mackerel. I've made it out of Spam, old hot dogs, and just a variety of things. So deer liver is really probably one of their favorites. I can tell they really dig this stuff. So I make it, and every time I get a deer or two up here, somebody gets a deer, I usually pull the liver out of the mix and save it. So here's the liver that's been blended up, and it's in a puree form. Looks like a little bit like pudding in a way, but it's going to go into the dry mix here in a second. Now I've taken a little water and mixed in the blender, so you're going to need a little water anyway. It's a good way to clean out your blender and get the rest of the liver mix out of there and use it over here, because you're going to toss it away anyway, and there's still a pretty good amount in there. Usually it sticks to the walls of the blender pretty good. So anyway, we're going to get going with the mix here and show you how that goes. Alright, here's pretty much the ingredients. Now this is the water, like I said, with the egg in it. I have my liver blended up, pureed, dry dog food, emulsified and ground up into a powder form. I got a little like seasoning. It's just pretty much, run-of-the-mill seasoning. Not going to use a whole lot. I'm going to go ahead and just give it that a little shot and then put that aside. No more, just a little bit. And then I'm going to start mixing the ingredients together here. So I'm mixing this in the sink so I don't get the splatter all over the place. And it's coming together pretty good. It's not the consistency I'd like yet. It's a little dry, so I'm going to mix in sort of my dilution of the egg batter. Alright, so I'm back. This is the puree of all the ingredients mixed together. Now, it's going to go onto a cookie sheet. This needs to be about a 1/2 inch deep, something like that. And we're going to spray it down with some no-stick cooking spray. It helps release the dough batter from the sheet when it's all done. And we're going to end up pouring this in here, and then we're going to spread it out. So I'm just going to kind of plop it down on there, and I'm going to take a spatula and scrape the bowl and spread it out until it's even all the way across. Alright, got the oven at 220. I've got this spread out on my cookie sheet, and it's about I'd say over 1/4 inch to 3/8 inch thick. And it's really, it wasn't actually pourable, but it wasn't like a dough where you could handle it with your hands. It had to be spatulaed out into there and then spread out, and it needs a non-stick spray on it. So then we're going to pop this in the oven, probably put it on the top rack, and then that's going to stay in there for probably 3 to 4 hours, and it really just depends. You got to keep an eye on it, and halfway through, 3/4 of the way through, you're going to need to slice it and then put it back in the oven to finish it, and then you'll be able to break it apart when it's done. It'll be nice, pretty even squares. So we'll come back to that when it's getting closer. And it's late here, so I'm going to let this go tonight, set my alarm for about 2 a.m. and get up and slice it. It's going back in the oven after I cut it here, and probably another 2 hours, and I'm going to reduce the heat some. The heat's something you're going to have to watch a little bit, and you don't really want to walk away. I usually set a timer on my phone if I'm going to fall asleep or something on it, and get up in a couple hours and just check on it. Anyway, I'm about done scoring it. These pieces, if they're too big, you can cut them down later after it's finished, and you break it apart. So these came out of the oven. Looks like they're pretty much done. I cut them earlier when they were halfway through, and then about an hour ago I took them out of the oven and separated them, and then put them back in for a little bit, and they are ready to go. The dogs enjoy them. It's about 4 hours total. I adjusted the heat just a little bit here and there and kept an eye on them, and look pretty good. I'm going to put them in a Tupperware container and store them in the refrigerator and use them for training treats. So, hope you enjoyed this video. This is Mocha of Daniel Boone Labradors, and we're done making our training treats here. I'll show them to you. So I got a couple bins full, and Mocha's ready to test them out. So these are liver training treats made from deer liver, dog kibble, a couple eggs, and a little seasoning. And they're relatively hard, not crunchy. You can make them crunchy if you left them in the oven a little bit longer. I get them just firm, but not actually crunchy. So anyway, they're finished. It was about a 4-hour cook time. Nothing, like I said, is really set in stone. Mix the ingredients together, and spread them out on the cookie sheet. You can buy the foil type, this type, or you can do it on a regular and line it with tinfoil non-stick cooking spray, so they come off real easy. And dog training treats are expensive. You go in the store and you buy them a lot, you train a lot, you go through quite a few, and you can you know, it just gets costly. So I try to make a lot of stuff, and I use a lot of deer parts. I like the raw feed. I think it's healthier for the animal, and you know, they're really born and bred as carnivores, and I do believe that they need a little bit of that raw meat in their diet. I think it's 50-50 mix is pretty good. That's what I kind of tend to do. I'm no, you know, authority on it, but I just see the coat on my dog, and you know, other things are, you know, their energy level is up to par. I don't have a lot of ear infections and things like that, so I think it's working pretty good. Now, I'm gonna touch on a couple other things. I recommend after you're done, you clean up your equipment real good with some kind of disinfectant. And you know, deer tend to have some bacteria, and you just want to keep it clean, especially if you're using it for everyday use. This here, like I said, is I kind of keep my equipment here. These are like yard sale finds, thrift store, so I pick it up and I use it just for making treats and stuff. But another thing I train a lot, so I make my own dummies, and I might do a video on that at some point. But these are training dummies. I'm into Labrador training for hunt test, and it's just a hobby. But you know, those are expensive too, and you can make quite a few. You lose them a lot, so you know, it's not so much of a hit when you lose one that didn't cost you a lot. So anyway, this is Wild Bill at Daniel Boone Labradors, and this is my training treat video. Hope you enjoyed it. Take care. Have a good winter. Bye bye.